Hey everyone, I'm so excited for today's deep dive because I love exploring new ways to deal with anxiety.
And we've got something really interesting to dig into today.
Right, like seriously fascinating. So we've got this transcript of an actual anxiety healing session, but here's the thing. It all went down over a messenger app.
At midnight.
Yep, you heard that right, midnight.
It's a real-time demo of EMO Energy in motion. Super interesting to see how this guy's anxiety shows up physically and how this method helps release that pent-up energy.
And it's not just some random dude, right?
Yeah.
This is Mark from Canada. He had chronic anxiety, tried all the usual therapies, but nothing seemed to work.
He was really into the science of things. Like, he needed proof, had to see the logic before he could even consider trying it.
Totally get that, especially when you've been struggling for a while and nothing seems to stick. But what really pushed him over the edge was his insomnia. Couldn't sleep a wink, thanks to the anxiety.
So picture this. It's midnight, Mark's in Canada, desperate for relief. He connects with this emo practitioner in the UK. Yeah.
Across the pond and everything.
Exactly. Sandra Hillawi, the practitioner, jumps right in acknowledging his skepticism. Emo's got a proven track record, she tells him. Used it with babies, animals, even people who don't really get the whole concept.
So it's like the results are there, regardless of whether you buy into it or not. Okay, so let's break down this emo thing a bit. Basically, emotions are energy, right?
Right.
And when that energy gets all blocked up, well, that's when the negative emotions like anxiety start to take over.
Think of your emotions like a river. When it flows freely, everything's cool. But when there's a
I
dam,
don't like that analogy.
the water builds up, creates pressure. And that pressure, for us, can be the anxiety.
So Mark, understandably, he's a bit cautious, but he's also exhausted and desperate for some sleep. They get into the session, and immediately Mark starts describing this heavy, stuck energy, mostly in his chest, neck, and stomach, classic anxiety symptoms. But then he says something wild. He's afraid to actually release the energy.
It does sound kind of crazy at first, but this fear of letting go, it's more common than you think, especially with energy work newbies. Remember that river analogy? Mark's so used to that dammed up feeling, he's scared of what happens if it all comes rushing out.
It's like he's more comfortable with the anxiety he knows than the unknown of what might come after.
Exactly. It's that fear feeding the anxiety, creating this never-ending cycle. Even the idea of relief becomes scary.
And Sandra, the practitioner, she's brilliant here. Instead of trying to figure out why Mark's anxious, she just guides him to focus on what he's feeling in his body. It's like she's saying, let's not overthink it. Let's get out of your head and into your body.
Which is a core principle of emo, right? When we're stuck in our thoughts, overanalyzing everything, we miss what our bodies are trying to tell us.
So Sandra starts using these specific words to help Mark picture this energy release. Softening, flowing, like she's guiding him to imagine the energy becoming less dense, more fluid.
Guided visualization is super powerful, using language that evokes movement, release. It helps shift how you perceive the energy itself.
And as they go on, Mark starts describing these vivid sensations. Says the energy feels like it's turning to liquid, like a layer's coming off, tingling in his arms, a ball of energy in his chest. Crazy stuff, right?
It's amazing because it shows energy healing isn't some wishy-washy concept, it's real. People feel it, experience it, can describe it.
And all of this is happening through text. No fancy equipment, just a simple messenger app.
That's what makes this case so compelling. Healing doesn't have to be complicated. It can happen anytime, anywhere, even in the middle of the night on your phone.
Okay, so we've set the scene. EMO, Mark, skeptical and afraid, yet willing to dive in. Let's get into the actual session and see what happens next.
So picture this. You're Mark. You're skeptical, right? But you're also desperate, and you've got this practitioner guiding you to tap into this unseen energy.
And he keeps getting stuck in his head, even while he's trying this new thing.
Totally. There's this part where he says, I think I'm doing it wrong because I'm just thinking my whole body's energy is softening and flowing instead of being specific. Like he's worried about getting it perfectly right.
Which, let's be honest, we all do that, don't we? Trying to be
Yeah.
perfect, even when we're trying to relax.
Exactly. And Sandra, bless her, she gently reminds him, trust your intuition, Mark. Focus on the feeling, not the specifics. Healing isn't about rigid steps. It's about letting go.
Surrendering to the process, like, hey, body, you know what to do. I'm just going to hang out here.
And it's like a switch flips for Mark. He starts visualizing the energy flowing up and out of his head. He even notices how words, like fast, make the energy dissolve quicker.
Whoa, so the power of suggestion is playing a role here, too.
Absolutely. It's all connected. And then comes the mind-blowing part. Mark realizes he was in control the whole time, even when he was scared of the energy.
Wait, what? How did he figure that out?
He says, I basically affected energy with my thoughts, even though I was afraid to, because the fear was generated from my thinking. As soon as I got out of my thinking, I could tap into the real power.
Whoa, right.
Seriously. It's like he unlocked a superpower. He did. He realized he wasn't a victim of his anxiety, of this energy. He could influence it. Big shift in perspective.
Okay, so after all that, was Mark cured? Like anxiety-free, happily ever after?
Well, not completely. He still felt a bit of tension, but way lighter than before. And get this, he finally fell asleep.
Which was the whole point of this midnight rendezvous. Mission accomplished, even if it wasn't a complete cure.
Exactly. Relief in a short time through a text chat. Imagine that. It challenges everything we think we know about healing.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if we've been overcomplicating things? So, for everyone listening, let's get to the heart of it. What are the big takeaways from Mark's late-night adventure?
Well, the energy-emotion connection is undeniable, right?
It really highlights how powerful even small shifts in our energy can be.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we can create a ripple effect that changes our whole emotional landscape.
It's like finding a calmer frequency. And the best part is, you don't have to be some energy guru to do it.
Right. Like, I'm not about to go live in an ashram or anything.
Exactly. Simple things like paying attention to your breath or moving your body can help. Get out of your head into your body.
Which is music to my overthinking ears. No need to overanalyze everything. Just focus on creating that flow.
Exactly. Your body knows what to do. Remember how Sandra never asked Mark about the root of his anxiety? They just move the energy.
That was fascinating. It's like they skipped the whole story behind it.
And I think that's key. We get so hung up on the why of our anxiety, the past, the triggers, but sometimes that keeps us stuck. Focusing on the energy itself gets to the root of the problem.
So instead of dwelling on the story, we can just work with the energy directly. Soften it, release it, and create space for calm.
Exactly. It's like, hey, anxiety, I don't need to know your whole life story. I'm just going to help you move along now.
It's empowering. You're not at the mercy of your thoughts and emotions anymore. You have a way to shift things.
And the fact that Mark did this in one session, over text, at midnight, it shows how accessible this is. You can do it anywhere, anytime.
So encouraging, especially if you're intimidated by traditional therapy. What would you say is the biggest takeaway for our listeners?
You are not powerless. You can shift your energy, create ease in your body, and experience more peace. You have that power within you.
Even if you're skeptical, like Mark was. Remember, he was desperate for sleep and found relief in a way he never expected. So if you're struggling with anxiety, take a deep breath, connect with your body, and see if you can soften that energy. You might be surprised by what happens.
Remember, you are the master of your energy. You have the power to heal, to transform, and to create a life that feels good.
That's it for today's deep dive into midnight anxiety and energy healing. We hope you found this as fascinating as we did. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.